Hi, this is Stan. Welcome back. Well, here in the shop, our project today is building another set of rollers like this for my steam engine. So if that sounds interesting, hope you can join me. Well, sorry about all the noise. I know the audio isn't the best. It's summer, it's hot out here, and I've got fans and air conditioning and all sorts of noise. So hope you can bear with that. Okay, a while ago, I needed a really quick rack to hold up my locomotive so that I could exercise the running gear. And the easiest thing at that time for me was to build this quick plywood rack. It has a removable end on it so that I could slide it under the locomotive and only have to lift half of the locomotive at one time. It's a pretty heavy little guy, even though it's only 5-inch gauge. But that blocked a lot of access to things that I needed to work on. So the real solution is to have a set of rollers like this, and I needed to build these. Not too many places here in the US you can buy something like this, if at all, so you're pretty much going to have to manufacture something. I'm not a metal worker, which you will find out really quickly here, but going to do the best I can. I built this first set. I need one more just like this, so let's build one together and you could see what I did. So I don't have any design drawings or anything for this, so I'm kind of winging it, making it up as I go along. I need these rollers to fit underneath the wheels like this. This is an 040, which means I have 2 axles, 4 wheels. And I guessed that I needed about a 3-inch span between the rollers. So interestingly enough, I was in the hardware store and I saw these Simpson Strong Ties. There's a whole bunch of products like this. Pretty thick and strong steel. And wouldn't you know it, they had holes pre-drilled at about 3 inches apart. So I thought this is going to be perfect. So I bought a small handful of these and got to work. Now you've probably noticed that these look a little strange on the inside, and that is because, I don't know if you've ever priced bearings, but they are expensive. And it just wasn't in the budget for me to go out and buy another 8 ball bearings. I priced it at a local machine hardware store, and it was like $17 a bearing or something like that. I can't afford to buy 8 of these, but I did have 8 bearings left over from another project that I had. These are basically rollerblade bearings, and I made my wife a quilting machine that uses a standard sewing machine. We've since got her something else, and so I had these bearings left over and I wanted to use these, but there was not enough clearance between the outside of the bearing and the shaft of the bearing for the flange that's on the wheel on the locomotive. I should say there's enough room in the bearing, but not if you put a bolt through like this. The head of the bolt is just too high. The flange of the wheel will be rubbing on the head of the bolt. Don't want that. I tried a different type of screw, kind of a hex head, and even that was just a bit too fat. And I tried planing this down a little bit, and I thought, man, that is too much work. But then I discovered these bolts that have a cylindrical shaft with the head offset, and these are going to work perfectly for me. And so the wheel will set on this bearing here, the flange will stick down and it won't rub on anything, it'll be perfect. And so I could just buy these bolts and I'm all set. So I had these Simpson brackets. I had a piece of aluminum left over from my other locomotive project, and so just some simple hand tools and some hardware, and we've got ourselves a rolling rack to support the locomotive. But I need one more of these. One isn't enough, I need 2. So let's get busy and build one of these, okay? So the first step is let's cut a gentle arc here on top and smooth out these sharp corners. So I'll just take a lid and center it up, just visually. And draw a little line there. That'll keep me honest. Well, actually the angle grinder looks like a lot of fun, throws some really cool sparks, but it's not the most efficient tool for me to be cutting these. Actually, the tool that seems to work best for me is this good old jigsaw with a metal cutting blade in it. And I've used this so many times and it just seems to work perfectly for me. So let's get busy. Next, a little sandpaper action. Yeah, this is a little warm still, but I still need to do just a touch of hand sanding. I mean, it wouldn't be a shop project without some hand sanding, right? All right, next, let's tap and put threads in these two holes to receive these bolts. We want 5/16 by 18 threads per inch. So let's add a little oil and get busy. And just like that, through the magic of video editing, an identical second bracket appears. So now they're all cut and smoothed, and the holes are tapped to receive these 5/16 by 18 shoulder bolts, and these are a great workaround for me since my bearings were just slightly on the small side. Well, I might as well take a measurement from the one I already made. I'm not so sure you need to have a metal base. You could probably attach these brackets to almost anything, even your workbench. But I had the aluminum handy, so that's what I'm using. So time to break out our trusty saber saw again. Well, the first one is easy. We just want to make sure it is at a nice 90 to the base, about an inch in from the edge. And we will again use the holes that are already in the strong tie, making our mark. And then using a punch, we'll set the center of the holes. And now let's get out the drill, and we'll drill these out in 2 steps. I'll do a little pilot hole with this, and then the final hole like this. Well, I hope you can see this okay. Half the time I'm filming this looking at the viewfinder upside down, so I hope it works out for you guys. All right, this is mounted. I got this is temporarily mounted. I got the bearings in, got these tightened up on both brackets, because now this measurement is important. I need to get this right. So I want 5 inches plus a 1/16 between the inner edges of the bearings. So we're going to set that up 5 inches and a 1/16 on both sides. Okay, 5 and a 1/16 on both sides, so we know it's parallel. Let me mark the holes. Let me get this drilled out again. Okay, I got it temporarily bolted in here, and we want to check our gauge. 5 and a 1/16, 5 inches and a 1/16. My experience with track, and this is basically like track with this type of railroad, is that slightly wide gauge is way better than slightly narrow gauge. Locomotives tend to crawl out of things that are a bit too narrow, but there's more forgiveness in the wheel for a slightly wider gauge. Okay, so I'm going to put some lock washers and get all 6 of these bolts set in there. And then I'm going to use some Loctite 542 and screw these in, and let's see how it fits. Okay, we're all buttoned up. Still within spec. 5 inches plus a 1/16. Let's see how they fit under the locomotive. Well, there they are. Locomotive sitting up nice and pretty. Let's check the clearance. Well, I think that's going to be okay. I probably did not need to add that 1/16 in there. I can see that right now. The real test will be when I run this on air or steam next. Seems to be running freely enough though. Well, as you can tell, I'm not a machinist or a metal worker. Did the best I could though. A very helpful project for me, and I hope it was informative for you. Well, this is Stan saying thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and leave a comment if you like, and I will see you next time.